On today's show, passing on the passion. Every spring, this youngster trades his baseball bat for a turkey blind.
Look at the size of that.
We help you get started hunting the spring woods for this tasty treat.
Time for the prosciutto.
And Laura Shera shares a favorite spring game recipe right out of the city of Rome.
Minnesota Bound, presented by Connecticut Water Treatment Systems.
Hey everybody, Laura, Millie and I welcome you to this week's show.
Right now, the turkey woods are alive with both birds and hunters.
You know, but bigger than the hunt itself are the relationships that are built outdoors.
My dad, Ron Shera, explains.
All right, now you got two, shorten up, and still a little left. Hustle in, hustle out, guys.
On a late spring afternoon, you're apt to find Harley Loy on a baseball diamond. With his #1 fan, his father, in the bleachers.
Hey, let's go, Harley.
Harley has played baseball since he was 6 years old, I believe it was.
Perfect. Way to get a stick on it, huh? Nice job.
I just find it really fun and entertaining to be out there and like hit the ball. Just play with your friends and stuff.
However, baseball isn't the only game in Harley's life.
My youngest son, Harley, has his own outdoor blog.
I write down my experiences hunting and fishing, whatever is, well, outdoors. The goal is just to keep a diary for when I'm older to look back at and like read those past experiences.
Harley has a real passion for the outdoors. My dad introduced me to hunting. Love the outdoors just as much or more than myself.
A passion now passed down to Harley.
And I'll tell you, I think you can tell a lot from a kid on how easy they get out of bed, you know, to go turkey hunting at 4:30 in the morning.
What else do I need? Do we have the tent?
It's already set up.
Ah, for sure.
Decoys?
Check.
Takes gumption to arise before dawn. But Harley's ready. It's off to the turkey woods in the dark.
Did you set up the decoys?
Yep.
Oh, here the rain comes. Who ordered that?
Maybe 10 o'clock we'll get an opening. I think the rain pushes them out of the woods because they can't hear as well. They'll still move around, in my opinion. Did you hear that? Yeah. He was closer.
Sit and wait. Sometimes that's what turkey hunting can be. Or it can be sit and eat some grub made by Grandma.
This is Grandma Dana's famous goulash. She never lets us down.
Smells like goulash in here.
Yeah, this will hit the spot.
Yeah. 100%.
It's not about 30-inch walleyes and it's not about 200-inch whitetails. It's just about being out and the experience.
Harley's stories have only just begun. But what would Harley's outdoor adventure say about this experience?
I would write that it's like pretty special because, well, I'm gonna be on TV. And that's something to definitely brag about.
Coming up, tips from a pro to help you find a few more morels in the spring woods.
Minnesota Bound is brought to you by Connecticut Water Treatment Systems, Coors Light, Ice Castle Fish House and RV, and by White Bear Lake Superstore.
I'm here in the beautiful woods to start foraging for some food. Not only is it an affordable way, but it's also a wonderful experience to gather ingredients for a delicious meal. Now, when it comes to foraging mushrooms, that takes a little bit more education on not only what to pick, but also what not to eat. So I'm here with the gentleman forager, Mike Kempenek, to show you how to get started mushroom hunting. Follow me. Hey, Mike.
Hi, Laura.
How are you?
I am awesome. How are you?
Good. I am so excited to do some foraging today. This is actually my first time mushroom foraging, and we want to know what it takes to get started. Any tips before we get going?
You know, luckily it doesn't take a whole lot. We're gonna, I have a basket with me. I've got a little pocket knife. I like to start with the morel because honestly, it's pretty easy to identify.
Well, I'm ready to get started. I see you have a couple baskets,
Yeah.
one for you, one for me.
I'm pumped.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
So what should we be looking for when we're starting morel mushroom hunting?
Well, one of the things I like to tell people up front is we're not really looking for the mushroom. We're really looking for trees to begin with. In most cases, that's an elm tree, and you can see in front of us there's a perfect example of a dying elm tree. When it begins to die, it sends out some chemical signals through its root system, so the fungus knows that its host is going to die, which is what promotes the mushroom to grow. So you're looking for the dead and dying ones, but not where they've been dead for, 10 years or something.
Should we go check this one out?
Let's take a look. The mushroom can actually be growing as far away from the tree as the tree is high. It's a big Easter egg hunt.
It is a big Easter egg hunt. Do you talk to the mushrooms to try to have them tell you where they're at? You're like, reveal yourself. This thing's huge. Oh my goodness, we found one. Look at this mushroom, you guys. That is
That's a jumbo.
monstrous. Wow.
That's a meal.
And here's another one right here. Little baby one.
Pretty unmistakable. You're not going to find another mushroom in the woods that looks like that or the cap looks like that. If you're still unsure, cut it in half, and that morel is always going to be completely hollow.
All right, I'm gonna grab this trophy shroom. Just break at the base?
Yep.
Oh, that was easy. That's amazing. Look at the size of that. Now this is a morel. I think I already spot one more.
Yes.
Let's get him. Yep, nice and hollow.
Nice one. That's a nice one too. That's
Beautiful.
a keeper.
Definitely. Aha! Found it! It's hollow. Another good shroom.
See right over there?
Oh, I
Growing on the
do.
lid? That looks like a pheasant back.
Okay, let's go check that out.
Yeah,
It's
that's a
beautiful.
pheasant back.
And how did it get its name?
Well, you sort of see this feathered pattern here. Mm-hmm. Some of them it's much more prevalent on. This one's a little bit light, and it takes on a little bit of the look of the back of a pheasant.
It sure does.
It's got a tough stem, so we're gonna use a knife to cut this one off.
Why do we have mushrooms?
You know, mushrooms are really the grand decomposer of Earth, so without mushrooms, everything around us, every leaf, every twig, every tree, nothing ever gets broken down and returned to the carbon life cycle. So without mushrooms, there literally is no life on Earth.
Well, this is a really fun day. Thank you so much for your
Absolutely.
help.
My
Now, if someone
pleasure.
wanted to take a class, you do offer classes,
We
right?
do. If you come take all our classes, by the end of the season, you'll be able to positively identify 20 different species of mushrooms and 20 different wild plants and berries. So you'll be a real woods person.
Well, gentleman forager, you are really a fun guy. No pun intended. Actually, pun intended. What am I saying? Can't wait to cook these. Thank you.
You bet.
Still ahead, a Minnesota-bound migration of epic proportions. But first, Laura Schera heads to the kitchen to whip up wild game in true Italian form.
Closed captioning provided by Star Bank.
Today we're getting wild in the kitchen with Chef Jim Kimberg, Executive Chef at Casetta's, and we're hanging out in Louie's restaurant today. So I'm guessing by the looks of the prosciutto there, we're making some sort of Italian dish.
Of course, it's got to be Italian.
What are we making?
We've got a wild turkey saltimbocca we're going to be preparing today.
Saltimbocca.
Yeah, it's going to be delicious.
All right, let's get started.
All right. So we've got this nice wild turkey breast here, and we're going to make some little cutlets, and we're going to pound them thin. We're going for about 2-ounce cutlets. I'm cutting down across the grain.
So is it tenderizing time?
It's tenderizing time.
It's the best.
So I'm going to teach you a little trick. We're going to use some plastic wrap.
Okay.
And this is going to help us prevent from making a mess in the kitchen.
We like that.
You want to grab the tenderizer, Laura, and start pounding them nice and thin.
All right. It is the caveman size tenderizer. So we want these pretty thin.
Yes.
Just like that?
You're looking great. Those look great. You don't want to destroy it, but you do want to pound it nice and thin. And if you want to grab the minced garlic, and let's just rub a little bit of that garlic oil into each breast.
Like that?
Yeah, looking good. Just going to do a little sprinkle of sage on top as well.
It's time for the prosciutto.
You want to lay one piece of prosciutto down flat for me?
That.
Looking good.
So it's kind of like a half wrap, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Time for the frying pan?
Time for the frying pan. So we're going to get started. We've got our cutlets wrapped in prosciutto over there.
We do.
And I've got some seasoned flour here. Now, if you want to just kind of pat that in the seasoned flour, and on both sides, trying to keep in that nice cutlet shape. We're going to go sage leaf down first.
Okay, that's an important part.
There you go.
Here we are.
So let's get the other 3 in there as quick as possible.
And what's in our flour mix here? Just flour, salt, and pepper, or?
Pretty much.
Okay.
You got it. That's our secret. All right, so you can see they're starting to crisp up a little bit right now, getting some color on them. This is a perfect time. We're going to add a couple more sage leaves. And we've also got some slivered garlic here that we poached in olive oil, so they're kind of very gently cooked.
Wow.
Turkey's cooking through. Prosciutto's nice and golden brown. And then we're going to finish our pan sauce.
Beautiful.
So to make our pan sauce, we're going to add about 2 ounces of white wine to that same pan, and just a couple of sage leaves to really bump up that sage flavor in there. We're going to go right over our turkey.
Beautiful. Now this is the way you can impress your friends with some wild game.
Definitely. We'll finish this off with a little bit of color, some broccoli rabe. Look at that.
All right, it's time for taste testing.
Let's go for it.
I'm excited about this one. I'm a garlic lover.
Get in there. Get some of that sauce.
All right, wild turkey saltimbocca.
Got it.
Here we go. Oh yeah. That is delicious.
Straight ahead, a Minnesota-bound classic from the heart of one of North America's greatest migrations. Just listen.
Minnesota Bound is brought to you by Midwest Exteriors MN, Warner's Dock, and by Totem Resorts, the premier destination for world-class fishing.
It's time to go back to the year 2003, to a day Ron Schara witnessed one of North America's greatest migrations.
When spring sunrises come to Nebraska's Platte River, the moment is a sight to behold. Sandhill cranes take to the air, a sea of skinny legs and 6-foot wings. tens of thousands. Tens of thousands multiplied by 10. So many sandhills, it's as if there's not enough sky to hold them all. The air itself is full too, full of the dangest sound you've ever heard.
They tell me that the Sandhill crane has the loudest voice of all bird species, and it has to do with their long neck. And when you hear 100,000 of them, it's a magical sound. The Platte River is one of the most powerful places I've ever been in my life, and I used to think that was reserved for the great wildernesses of Alaska and the dream areas that we all want to visit. But I slept on this riverbank, woke up the next morning as a roar like a jet engine took off, and I knew this is another powerful place in our great country.
Sandhills also are one of the oldest birds on Earth, almost prehistoric, scientists say. They've been coming to the Platte River every spring for not hundreds, but millions of years.
In my mind, what happens here is the cranes are on their way north, and they need a place to be able to sit down and get all the energy they need to be able to complete their migration. And the Platte River is safety. It's wide, it's shallow, it's a perfect place for them to roost every night, and the cornfields around provide almost all the food that they need.
From mid-February to early April, the migrating cranes pause along a short but key 80-mile stretch of the river near Kearney, Nebraska. Their next northbound stop are nesting grounds as far away as the Arctic and Siberia. For sandhills, this is a serious business trip, the business of courtship dances to find a mate.
The dancing is an expression of several things. First of all, it's always a part of the mating ritual between a male and female crane. It's a really important part, and it's an absolutely stunning thing to watch. Here, it's kind of a little warm-up. They're hopping in the air, they're flapping, they're bowing. It's a cool thing to see.
And watch it we do.
Amazing amount of
Cranes attract upwards of 50,000 spectators a year.
We like to call this an awe experience. In other words, this is such a tremendously appealing experience for people because they can come here and see a true spectacle of nature.
Nature, of course, is always something we end up changing, especially rivers.
This migration is threatened, and mainly because of the presence of man. These birds have been coming through this area for 3 million years, and so it's a tremendous story. But what has happened is there's a high demand for water, certainly throughout the prairie here, and when the water levels are siphoned off for very valuable needs like irrigation of crops, man's use of water, it also takes away from the cranes.
The Platte is like a refuge. At nightfall, cranes return to the river to roost in the sandy shallows to be safe from predators.
When all those birds came thundering in and the swirls that we saw, it was emotional, it moves you. And I think it's part of mankind. It's something that our ancestors have felt, it's something that the natives have felt, and it's something that we can still witness in this modern era.
They're tough. They're primitive looking birds, and yet they're very smart birds, so they seem to have all the tools to survive.
And survive they must. Spring on the Platte just wouldn't be the same, of course. But if we somehow lose to history this awesome spectacle of sandhills, if our dawns and dusks become silent, we would possibly be sadder than we've ever been before. On the Platte River, I'm Ron Schera, Minnesota Bound.
Tens of thousands of birds multiplied by 10.
Such a great line, and so true.
Well, that does it for us. We'll see you back here next week.
In the meantime, Millie, what do we always say? Don't forget to introduce a kid to the great outdoors.
Transportation provided by Premier Transportation. Call 1-800-899-7433. To get more Minnesota Bound, including full episodes, go to mnbound.com. And to follow our latest adventures, like us on Facebook.